Hello everyone, and welcome to our graphite techniques video for this week. And I am excited about this one because this lesson is all about something I call direction of form. And when I discovered this for myself, it totally changed the way I approach my drawings, and I hope it does the same for you. And it may be something you're already familiar with, and that's great, but still it doesn't hurt to go through it from somebody else's perspective. And for some of you it may be a totally new thing, which is great too. So I'm going to start, well, by talking about my materials. So I have here a pencil called a Dixon Ticonderoga, and this is an HB, and Brenda mentioned them in a post on the last Graphite Techniques video, and so I bought them, and I'll tell you, they're really nice. And I think I paid, I don't know, I think it was maybe $6 for a box of 12, so like 50 cents a pencil, which is a really good deal, and I'm sure you could find a better deal. Actually, that's not true. I think I paid under $6 because I bought them at the drugstore, and you can get them just about anywhere, even at the grocery store. And so I thought I would try them, and I really like it. I stand by the other pencils, especially the Faber-Castell 9000s are my very favorite, and they have the widest range of hardnesses and softnesses. But this one for an HB pencil is really pretty fantastic. And so I'm really pleased with that. So I'm going to be using this today, and all you need is an HB pencil. So whatever HB pencil or number 2 pencil that you have will be perfect. And then I also have, this is a sketchbook made for me by my friend Carol Milron. She's an amazing book artist, and she makes these for me a couple times a year, and they open completely flat. They're perfect. They're called Coptic binding, and they're just gorgeous. She uses papers that she makes herself to cover them, and they're really beautiful. And she puts in here Stonehenge paper. So this is Stonehenge paper. She has the white and the warm white, and so we'll be using this today. And again, it's Stonehenge paper, so it's perfect. 100% cotton with the vellum finish. This is the regular weight Stonehenge. And then I also have a little tin of my erasers. I got this lovely tin from the Sketchbook Company, Sketchbook Co. from Autumn. And I have in here a kneaded eraser and a white plastic eraser. And I do like to keep my kneaded eraser in a little tin or a little box so it just doesn't get dust on it and stuff. It keeps it cleaner. So I have that in case I need it. And then I have a couple of items here to draw later, but we're going to start with a very basic premise of direction of form. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a very simple leaf. So just a really simple leaf shape. Okay, and I'm going to put a stem, a vein down the center, and then I'm going to put some auxiliary veins from the center to the outside. And I want you to do the same. Okay, you can make your veins curve a little bit or curve the other way. It doesn't matter, but just draw a simple leaf with a line down the center for the main vein, and then some auxiliary veins off to the side, some secondary veins. And I'm going to do one more of those. So again, simple leaf shape. Give it a little stem if you want. A vein down the center. And then some veins off to the side. So I'm going to consider this my outline. Okay, this is the outline of my leaf, and whenever I start to draw something, I always begin with an outline, and I make it lightly. I'm making it a little bit darker here so you can see it, and I just want to make sure that you can see it. I think so. And I'll zoom in on this a little bit when I edit the video. But you're always going to start with an outline. You need something to contain your drawing, right? And a lot of times, if we're drawing something more complex, we want to get the whole outline down first. Let's say we're drawing a bird. We want to get the whole bird down first to make sure it fits properly on our paper and we're happy with the composition. And we have sort of a roadmap to follow. Once we have that outline, we can start to fill it in with some tonal values and texture, okay? And that's where direction of form comes in. So if I look at this leaf on the left and I know that I want to fill it in so I can lose this outline, I can start, and oftentimes people will just start filling it in, okay? And using a very light, remember my lightest touch, I'm just sort of going back and forth and carefully filling in my leaf. And my hand might get tired of going this way, so maybe I'll start to move this way a little bit. And I'm just filling it in. And the main reason that we fill objects in is, number one, they're not white, right? So we need some kind of texture and shading. Okay? So I'm just filling it in. Maybe leaving a little highlight where that vein is. And once I'm finished, I have a leaf that's filled in, basically. And then I can go from there and start to put more details, lift some highlights, add some darker bits, okay? But what you might notice is that the leaf looks rather flat. It looks like a filled in leaf, okay? That is not direction of form. That is just filling it in any random way, or hatching or cross hatching, or doesn't matter what we do if we're not paying attention to direction of form. It's just going to be an outline that's filled in. So if I go to the other leaf and I start to fill it in using direction of form, I am going to notice what way, okay, the lines are created on my object. So if I have a leaf, let me see if I have a leaf over here. I can show you. Well, I really don't, but I have this. So I have this maple seed. And if you notice on the maple seed, it has some lines in it, okay, some detailed lines, and it gives you sort of an idea of how this object grew, okay? And so if I just filled it in back and forth, I'm going to lose those beautiful textural and dimensional lines, all right? So on my leaf on this side, I'm going to pay attention to direction of form, and I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to follow the curve of the leaf that I see, all right? When I get to the vein, I'll stop a little short. So I'm just following the direction that I see this that creates this leaf's shape. So you see how I'm sort of following the curve of those veins. I'm not just going back and forth, I'm not going up and down, I'm not making random marks. I'm truly following the curve of this form. So there's one side. And then on this side, I drew my veins kind of going up, and maybe that's what I see in the leaf that I was looking at. Okay, I'm not looking at a leaf, but if I were, I would try to draw it that way. And so now I'm going to fill in this side using direction of form. And I'm following the directional lines of what I see in my subject. In this case, just a simple outline of a leaf. Going all the way down to the bottom, following. So notice I'm not going this way, and I'm not going this way. I'm following the curves that I see. Okay? Now, I wonder if you can see the difference between these two. Can you see that? There's quite a bit of difference. This leaf already is starting to take on more realism than this leaf that I just randomly shaded. All right, so that is direction of form in its most simplest terms. Now, once I have that done, let me see here. I need to find a blending stick. So this is called a blending stick, or a tortillon. And they're really handy when we're first learning how to draw, and they really help us to smooth out our drawings if we want to get that really smooth look. So if I were going to do that on this one, I would still blend in direction of form. I would use my blending stick in the same direction that I made my pencil marks. So I'm coming up to the edge, sort of blending in that outline. And then I'm using my blending stick in the same direction, so I'm not losing those textural marks that I've made. And what this does, and notice I'm using a very light touch. I'm not digging the graphite into the paper. I'm just skimming over the top and letting it just soften the lines that I put down, just to give it a little bit more smoothness. But I'm maintaining the same direction of form. Sometimes you just have to blend up on the edges a little bit. Okay, so now I've created a really realistic looking leaf on that right side by using direction of form. Even if I went with my blending stick and did the same on this one, it's still not going to look as nice, okay, because those original pencil marks really matter. Okay, so that is direction of form in its most simplest terms. All right, it's following the contours and shapes and lines and textures that you see on your subject. So a leaf is very simple, right? So what if we had something that wasn't as simple? Let me find another page here. Okay, what if we had something like, actually I'll start with this, a heart-shaped rock, okay? So I'm gonna draw the outline of my heart-shaped rock. Let me just do that really quickly. And I won't take a lot of time to make sure it's perfect, but you'll get the idea. All right, so this is the basic outline of this item, and if I wanted to start filling it in, I'm not going to just shade it randomly. I'm going to look at my subject and I'm going to say, okay, starting at the top, the rock texture sort of goes this way. And then it changes and it sort of goes this way. And then it changes again, and it sort of goes this way. There's a little white space there. And I'm just really looking at my subject and I'm putting in what I see in direction of form. My marks are mimicking what I see in my subject. So I'm filling in, right? I'm filling in the form, but I'm trying to pay attention to the directions that I see. And then this kind of goes down this way. And right off the bat, see I have this sort of darker line, so I'll sort of add that in. And then this part comes out this way. And then it sort of shifts to this way. These are tiny little hatch marks. And it kind of comes this way. See what's happening? Okay, I'll do a little bit more, and then I'm just going to hold this up so you can see. So what I've noticed in teaching other people how to do this, I've noticed that it takes some practice, not only the mark making itself to be light and tender with our marks, but also the seeing of the direction that we need to follow. And I've also noticed that we all see things a little bit differently. And here's the thing about that. That is what makes art art. We all see things a little bit differently. And so how I put my marks down is going to be a little different than how you put your marks down. But at the end, we're both going to have something that is a good illusion of our subject, okay? So I want you to take a look here and see how my lines going in the direction of form are already creating a sense of realism, okay? The drawing still has a ways to go, and I would still add more texture and lift highlights and add darkness. But then if I start with my blending stick and I maintain the same direction that I've used with my pencil, if I maintain the direction of form, I'm going to start to get a smoother effect, but I'm not losing those textural directional marks. Okay? So can you see that? So that's another example of direction of form. I am using my pencil to mark down exactly what I see and how I see the direction of my subject. So here I see these lines that kind of go this way. And then this one kind of goes this way. And this one goes this way and then this way. And that's what I've put down here. So to take it one step further, let's say we have something like this walnut. All right. So if I draw a basic walnut shape, which is probably not correct, but I'm not going to go into really too much of that right now. But if I started even down here and I started filling in what I see with direction of form, it's going to give me a great beginning for this drawing. The marks that I'm making are mimicking what I see here. So this is a little bit more complex. I do recommend that you try it though if you have a walnut or an acorn or a maple leaf, or it doesn't, it really doesn't matter what your subject is. What matters is that you're spending time noticing, seeing, and marking down what you see. So by the time I get done with this, I'll have a really good start for my walnut. And it will look much more realistic already to begin with than if I would have drawn, a walnut shape and just started filling it in like this. We could do this approach, but then we're going to have a whole lot of work to do to make it look like a walnut. Okay? So you can see how just by putting in my little markings as I see them in direction of form, that I'm already getting a more realistic picture of that walnut than if I were just going back and forth with my pencil. Okay? So another way to look at this is, let's say, let's say I'm drawing this paintbrush, all right? And I start with the basic shape of my bristles and the basic shape of the top part of the brush, and so on, all right? If I just start filling it in this way, back and forth, it's not going to look very bristly. The direction of form of this is as bristles go outward, okay? They go this way, up and down, and they stick out a little bit on the side. So if I start filling it in with lines that mimic the direction of form, I'm way ahead to get that first layer of fill-in in. Here, I see two things. I see highlights that are going up and down, but there's also a sense of roundness here by going back and forth, okay? So if it were me, I'm going to go for the sense of roundness. Highlight is a feature that I can add later. I'm going to turn my paper a little bit. So I'm going to go for the directional line, like the directional curve that I see in this brush, which is this way, which suggests roundness, all right? So if I fill it in with my lines going this way, and then I can come back and I use my blending stick to sort of make my lines go that way, and then this way, okay? I can come back later with an eraser. I'm going to use my stick eraser for this, and I can start to pull out the highlights in their own direction of form, okay? And then go from there. Do you see what I'm saying? So we're always looking at our subject to try to see the direction of their form. Are they round? Are they straight up and down? Okay, because even though this is a round, in a way, it's a round tuft of hairs, it's still the main direction of form is this upward, long, spiky hair. All right? Let's see. So let's look at this maple seed. So let's start. I'll do this side. So let's start with the basic shape of this. If I just start filling in back and forth this way or this way, I'm going to lose a lot of that realism right off the bat, and I have to work a lot harder. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, it's shaped sort of like this. And then it comes down and it comes to here. And then this is sort of like that. And then it comes down. And meets here. And then these lines, they're definitely going this way. So I'm going to fill in my lines. I'm shading them in direction of form, how I see it. And then here on top, it's going a little bit this way. And then they really curve down. Okay, so do you see that? That, right off the bat, is giving me an excellent place to start. And it's a great way to sketch. You can sketch things this way in direction of form. Because if I were going to sketch this just sort of without much mind to it, and I want to sketch a maple seed, and I'm not even really looking at it, you know, and then I just start to fill it in. It's quite a different thing than if we sketch it in direction of form. Okay? So what you know, the other thing you can do is you can draw circles. And let me just get a new page. So if I take a coin or any kind of circle and I just make a little template for myself, a bunch of circles, right? Then I can go in and I could shade a circle in direction of form. If I shade a circle just going up and down, that will fill it in, but it's not going to give it a sense of roundness. So if I start with more round, like where the highlight would be, just start in one place and draw my lines in a circular way, and then know that this circle kind of stems out from here. And these lines are curved, right? And there comes a point where they might be sort of straight here. Then they're going to curve this way. And by doing that, I'm really way far ahead. Let's say this is an apple and that's my stem. Okay, so I'm way far ahead by starting my apple in direction of form. And then I can use my blending stick to sort of smooth still using direction of form. So you see how just by doing that, without adding any highlights or contrast at all, I already have something that appears more round than if I would have drawn my circle and just filled it in. So you remember last time when we were filling in squares, we weren't paying attention to direction of form. We were just filling them in. But the thing is that a square, a flat square, really has no dimension of form. You know what I mean? No direction of form. But let's say we wanted a square that kind of, let's say our square was sort of cupped like this. So we could fill it in this way. And just by going around and taking all of our lines and making them move toward the center, you know, our square becomes more like a tufted pillow. And then I can take my blending stick and soften it, still going in direction of form, following it all the way around. Okay, and that's going to give me a different effect than if I just went back and forth. It's going to give it a little bit of a sense of volume right off the bat, and then we can go in later and we can add highlights. You know, there's going to be a highlight where it's fullest, and all of those things can come later. All right, but what we want to learn is how to fill in our objects in a way that gives us a really great head start, and that's what this does. All right, with the walnut, with the rock, with the maple seed, with the brush, we're giving ourselves a great head start. So that is what I want you to practice today. All right, you could take something. If you have crystals, they're a great way to start to try this. They're, you know, in simple crystals, not really crazy ones. But if we, you know, if we sort of look at, I mean, this is hard to draw, right? But if we sort of look and do this just sort of basically, we see that like this one goes down this way, and this one might go this way, you know, and this one's going to go this way. And by doing all of these planes in different directions, how they appear to us, we're going to start to build volume right away, and dimension and form and a sense of space. So what I want you to do, you know, it seems like a very simple premise, and it really is. It really is simple. But what I want you to do is here, let me just show you some of my drawings. So here, direction of form. See how my leaf curved, and so I made my lines follow that curve. Do you see that? Here, the lines curved this way. They curved this way. All right, so I'm always thinking about that. I don't know what else is in this sketchbook. It's, you never know. Well, there's our leaves again. Let's see if there's any other cup. Yeah, not much. So start with a basic leaf like this and draw your veins. Okay, just make one up. Then go out and find a real leaf and draw the shape of the leaf, draw the main veins in, and then try to fill it in direction of form. You will see it. The closer you pay attention to your leaf, the easier it's going to be to see. All right, so I want you to do an imaginary leaf, and then I want you to find a real leaf, and I want you to try direction of form. All right, and then I want you to find some other things like an acorn. All right, a walnut shell, a beautiful rock that you find. Even your kneaded eraser would be a great subject because there's a lot of different planes here. I have lines going this way. I have lines going this way. I have lines going this way and this way and this way and this way. So even a kneaded eraser would be a great subject. We're not trying to produce a finished drawing. We're not trying to give any kind of sense of realism or perfection to this. We're simply learning how to see the planes of our object and be able to see those lines and to depict them in direction of form. So I hope this makes sense. As always, and you don't need a blending stick. If you don't have one, you can also use a Q-tip if you want to smooth your graphite. The main thing to remember is to not dig in, just to skim over in direction of form. All right, it's really important that you don't dig it in because later in our drawings, we're going to go back with an eraser, right? And we're going to lift out highlights in places. And if we've dug in our graphite too much into the paper, it's going to be impossible to lift it out. So keep that light touch like we talked about last time. Okay? So So that's all I want you to do for this session. I want you to start noticing direction of form. Start practicing it with simple leaves you find outside. Even this beautiful little air plant that Kim sent me would be a great study in direction of form. You know, you've got a line going this way, you know, you've got one going this way and then up. You've got one going this way. So all of those things matter. If I just drew this and shaded it back and forth, I would lose all of that dimension and all of that form. Okay? So that's it. That's all I want you to do. It looks very simple. It's not difficult, but it's going to take a little practice. So don't get frustrated if you don't see it right away. I promise you will. This is by far one of the biggest light bulb moments for my students is when they finally understand direction of form and their drawings just transform. They really do. So this is what I want you to do. Please ask me any questions you have. All right, in the comments below. Share your work. You can make posts in the community. You can also share them on Instagram with the hashtag Katiri's Dandelions on Patreon. So everybody can check that hashtag now and then and see what people are doing. But probably the easiest thing is just to post them in the community section here on our Patreon home. All right, I hope you're having a great day. I hope this is helpful for you. Ask me any questions, and I will see you next week with our next lesson in our watercolor project. We're going to finish our carrot. All right, take care. Thank you.